Perfect. So yeah, enjoy the workshop, everybody.
Okay, hello everybody. Thanks very much for joining us today. I'm going to try and share my screen so that I can start a little presentation. There we go. Can everybody see the first slide that says helping your child to prepare for the next year at school? Okay, is that all good? Some thumbs up anywhere? We're all okay. Great. So my name's Elaine Fish. I'm one of the support workers at Hampshire SENDIASS. Now I'm conscious that this presentation could have been should have really happened a little bit earlier than a week before the end of term. So apologies for that. It was supposed to happen last week, but I'm afraid I couldn't make the original date. But we'll bear that in mind if we come to do this again next year. Okay. So I'm sure you don't really need me to tell you that getting ready for a new school year can be a really tricky time for children that have SEND. And for yourselves, and that particularly so if they struggle with a change in routine and also a change from school life, because I know that a lot of children actually like that routine and the boundaries of school life and find the more relaxed times in the holidays a bit of a challenge. But we're going to try and offer some suggestions that might help you with preparing your child for the next school year. So it's generally about the next school year, but sort of either that they're moving classes or actually moving key stages and moving schools. So a bit of a mixture. Okay, so as I've sort of just said, really, there's school holidays are the times when things are much more relaxed and children don't have those boundaries of school life, and there's less expectation on them. That suits some children, others do struggle with it, and there will be children that will be looking forward to getting back into school and seeing their school friends, but others might be feeling anxious about that. So what should have already happened? So this is the slide that I was concerned about, because I appreciate that this is probably a bit late in the day to be making these comments. But hopefully by now you know who your child's new teacher will be, and they will have had the opportunity to spend some time in their new classroom. So there will already be some preparation work from the school to make sure that there's a smooth transition over to a new class. There should have been a handover meeting between the teachers and hopefully the SENCO as well, so that there's all the information about your child is passed on to their new teacher. Your child's SEN Support Plan will hopefully have been reviewed fairly recently and updated, so that there's nice fresh information being passed on for the next school year. So SEN Support Plan, you might know that as an individual education plan or a personal learning plan. There are several names for the same sort of document, but just basically the document that indicates what short-term measures are going to be put in place to support your child. So some things to think about, if you can, before the end of the summer term is, to make sure that you know who your child's new teacher is. Is there going to be a change of LSA perhaps? Does your child know which classroom they're going to, and who will be in their class? So this is particularly relevant if they're moving on to a new phase. Are there any of their current friends going to be with them in their new class and tutor group? Is there an opportunity for your child, if they need it, to have a buddy to help them to transition into a new school? And certainly if it's a move to secondary, it's always useful to have a map of the school. I know whenever I go and visit a secondary school, it's an absolute nightmare. I never know where I'm going. So it must be even more horrendous for children when they first arrive at the school. If there are therapies that your child needs, within their, for instance, within their education, health and care plan, have the school already thought about making sure those arrangements are in place for the new school year? So those are just some little questions really to think about in the next few days. So some things to think about during the summer. So I think that the first thing, you know, apologies, because these are probably quite obvious things to a lot of you. So apologies if I'm not telling you anything particularly new. But the first thing really is to have those relaxed conversations with your child during the summer break about the move to the new class or the new school in September. If you can get some photos of the school and the staff that are going to be supporting your child, that's fabulous, because then you can show them to your child during the summer break and remind them who they are, and then they'll become more familiar in time for September. If your child's just moving classes, then of course a lot will stay the same. So that's something you can reassure your child about. So they're still going to have their lunch in the dining hall, and they get to play in the playground with their friends, although there may be a change of playground. I know that situation happens where the year groups are split up, but they'll still be with their friends. The other thing that I should have mentioned previously in the previous slide really is that find out whether your school is doing any activity days during the summer break, any sort of summer play groups going on. That might be something that your child would be interested in. If you know that your child is going to still be with a friend or group of friends in their new class, then you can reassure them that their friends will be there. I'm sure you're all familiar with social stories, and these are a really good way of helping a child to transition from one class to another or from one school to another. And the, sorry, bear with me, because my colleague mentioned something else around this, and I forgot what she said to me now. So including in that some pictures and maps of the school, and some idea of where your child needs to line up for class, where their pegs will be, if that's relevant, where the toilets are. So all of those things, as well as, you know, where their classroom is. I've got some links to resources about social stories later on in this presentation. So if your child does struggle with the more relaxed atmosphere of a school holiday, then a familiar routine could be put in place for the summer. So obviously a bit more relaxed than school, but maybe give them an idea of what's going to happen during the day or during the week. And particularly the morning and evening routines become important, because then when they get to September and those routines become more important, it's not so much of a difficulty to get back into it. Visual timetables and calendars are always a good resource. And you know, if you Google, I think quite some useful resources come up for those. So they're a useful way of keeping things on track. So then the dreaded school uniform. So the one hint from parents is that you shop for your school uniform and the shoes early in the holiday, but then put them away, and then bring them back out a week or two before the start of the new school year, and encourage your child to try them on, put them on and wear them for a little bit so that they become more familiar and comfortable. And you can work out if they're not comfortable, pulling out the labels that they insist on putting on the backs of clothes, which are really irritating. If you can arrange it, you know, if you're going to need to arrange haircuts and trips to get stationery ready for the start of term, that's another good opportunity to have the time to talk to your child about going back into school and sort of gauging whether there's anything that's making them anxious, so that you can support them with those anxieties and boost their confidence. Particularly when they're moving into secondary school, there suddenly seems to be lots of equipment that they need to have, and an expectation that they are going to have them at the right time. So a tick list of equipment would be a useful tool in readiness for September, so that you can complete that when you get to know more about what sorts of things they're expected to bring with them each day. Another colleague of mine, when I asked for her advice on the information I was giving here, said label everything. So that's a very important piece of information. Again, sort of thinking more around moving to secondary, and then the more expectation on a child being able to complete homework is finding a plan for fitting that homework in, along with any after school clubs that might be that your child might be joining. And do remember that there should be advice from the school on how long they would expect your child to spend on homework, and don't feel that you have to sit there for hours with your child at the table trying to get them to complete homework. Have a limit. The other useful thing to think about is have a walk past the school during the summer, so it's still in their minds, still familiar, and not a shock when they get to September and realise they've got to go back into that building. And similarly, if it's a brand new school, that makes sense to have a look at it from the outside during the summer. And if your child is going to start taking a bus to school, then practice that a few times, so that again, it's not something that's suddenly new to them on the first day of term. Okay. Okay. You'll know your child's trigger points when they become more anxious or when they become heightened. So it would be useful for you to think about those, think about how you maybe can support the school to understand and be prepared for them, and discuss them quite early in September with their teacher or tutor, or before the end of term if you get the chance. If you've got a secondary school age child, then now's a great time to start encouraging them to build up their confidence and their independent skills. So maybe if they want to go and meet friends, leave them to make the arrangements. Help them if you're going to go out for the day, ask them to help you with preparing a lunch or organising their bag, because things like organising their bag is something that they're really going to need to have the skill to do when they go into secondary school, or if they're already in secondary school. Okay. And the last thing really to think about is not to worry if things don't go terribly well at the beginning, or get a little bit wonky during the autumn term. It will take time, and if you are concerned, then check in with your child's teacher or the tutor or the SENCO to express your concerns, so that you can get some support from them as to how to make things a bit more smooth for your child. Okay. So I've got some resources that are on the internet. I've found some resources on the internet. So there's the Social Stories and Comic Strip Conversations. That's the Carol Gray website, which I expect you're familiar with. And there's also an organisation called Reach Out ASC that has some really useful documents around the one-page profile and transition to a new class and transition to second. I'm not sure how we share that with you, unless Dee can give me an idea later on as to how I get that to you. But we're very happy to do that.
Can I just add in, Elaine? So on our social media page, Facebook, our main Share Together page, we could put those links following today's workshop, if that's okay. Yeah.
Lovely.
Fabulous.
Okay. 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 So just some do's and don'ts about making sure you have a good relationship with your teacher. Things like reinforcing the school rules, making sure your child has everything that they need for the school day, helping them with their homework. But as I said before, don't get to the point where you're sat there all evening trying to get them to finish a piece of work. Book appointments, make sure you fill in any forms that are requested of you. Keep correspondence short and to the point, and don't do a scattergun approach if you can help it. Always best to try and sort of link in with the main contacts at the school, and be open-minded, because and hopefully the school will be open-minded as well, in terms of you may have a completely different child at home as they present themselves at school. And then a couple of don'ts. So don't ambush the teacher first thing in the morning, and don't hover over your child if you can help it. Quite a short list of don'ts there. So we have some useful resources on our website, which I thought I'd just mention. So loads of information about SEN support and the education, health and care needs assessment process. But also we've got some guidance on preparing for meetings, some questions to ask and ways to phrase them, so that you keep things on an even keel, and keep a positive relationship with your school. We've got a section on our website about support in terms of mental health issues, and also a page around help for parents, which signposts to other organisations that might be able to support you. And then we have our YouTube channel, which we are adding our presentations to, as well as HPCN's website, channel. So do have a dip into that whenever you want to, and have a look at our other presentations. And then just finish with our contact details, which are there. Okay. Hopefully that's okay. Shall I stop sharing and see if anybody's got any questions? Okay. Dee, are you going to continue recording, or shall I stop recording now?
I think, yeah, can you stop recording?
Okay.
Because this will be the parent section. Thank you.